two Pokémon are preparing to battle against each other. Near the house where a toad is sleeping, Nidorino's trainer must collect it and give it a. The audience of this match is none other than Satoshi, a 10-year-old boy who is nurturing his dream of becoming a. Tomorrow marks Satoshi's turn in the great battle. A boy of 10 years old can get his first Pokémon and start his. TV channel continues to show images of the master explaining about the starting Pokémon of the Kanto region, which anyone can. Fusikidane, Xenagame and Hydokage are all present at that time. Satoshi dreamt of those three Pokémon. Accidentally, the clock struck a wrong moment. Biraradama fell into our hands, so the result is that next morning, the sun was high when he woke up, running to his teacher's room before changing. Satoshi came across Shigeru, the grandson of Professor Okido, and will be the longtime rival for him. Shigeru has chosen a Pokémon starter at this moment and is leaving with a promise to become a master trainer, bringing the world map to the Pokémon world. All three Pokémon have been selected. Satoshi accepts the fourth episode of Professor's plan, a character described as being melancholic and reaching a height high enough to jump on a Pikachu. It is easy to find cute things. However, Hanako had a son who was born and he saw it with Satoshi, with all of his belongings. Pikachu dapped out once again in the middle of the crowd, then they started the journey together with Satoshi, an arduous journey that may or may not bring joy and sorrow. No matter what happens, Pikachu refuses to join the ball game, so Satoshi continues walking with it. The two encounter a fake pencil box, but Pikachu refused to. Still laughing at the challenge after failure in the first mission, a different bird appears. Satoshi hit a stone on his head, but not like he did before. It's Onishi Jim now, a famous bird that aggressively attacks others without any. Onishi Jim switched tactics to attack Pikachu, but was stunned by a bolt of electricity. It let out a. One black Onishi Jim from the beginning to the end went ahead and made two decisions to rush first and then think later, but after running a distance, Satoshi picked him up together and rushed down the line, and then the two were aided by the crew's push and borrowed the power of the car to chase them to a nearby well. Despite that, Onishi Jim was already in an encounter and strike against Satoshi which made. Surrounded by sticky mud under the rain, next to her is Pikachu who is weaker than ever. Satoshi wants Pikachu back in its Pokeball so that it is safe there. Pikachu still struggles and refuses to go back, because his first day as a Pokemon was. After Satoshi decided it was time to stop running, he will have to stand up to protect both of them. If he. Shiny everywhere, Pikachu was moved by it. It jumped onto the person's shoulder and flew into the air, creating a group of electric sparks. A special team of electric shocks, exceptionally powerful when guided towards those full of skies. The will to survive and a newly developed bond between Pikachu that just. Both were gazing at each other. In the sky, a peculiar species emitting its thousands of brilliant lights began soaring. This kind of bird, steamed pancake, Satoshi, and Pikachu have also arrived in Tokiwa City. Satoshi has reached the center. The side of the car is the same as the current car, in a state of danger and people are going back to. After the test, Satoshi sent Pikachu into a room and was given thorough care by a nurse. A notice on the wall depicted 3 bumblebees on a flower with one bumblebee wearing a beehive hat, making Satoshi recall the ghost. Satoshi told Gogo about his experience encountering a golden bumblebee that flew thousands of meters into the sky. Gogo recognized it as a. Many people attempted to find this bird but failed. Kazumi drove the car, then Pikachu's master inquired about Pikachu's assistant's status. A warning alarm rang, and money was flowing out like water. The fire cat's smoke filled the entire place and a door in the gym. The 3 quickly retreated to the room where Pikachu still lay on the floor. The backup power system for Pikachu is installed and prepared, then the money. Toshi's inability to strike the Chicken Samurai and Abo with a powerful attack using boxing moves and karate. Kazumi also called for Tosenki. Pikachu woke up, but there was another Pikachu in the center of Satoshi's flower square where he would shock his body to cause strong electric shock. After absorbing the last energy from the bicycle light, Pikachu unleashed a surge of electric power. Combined with the smoke from the fried chicken skewers, it caused an. As such, the convenient item took advantage of Pikachu's predicament to lure him into their scheme. Satoshi and Kazumi continued their mission into the Tokiwa forest, where a certain Satoshi successfully caught his first Pokemon, the one that was Katabi. Without a single fight before, Bichon had taken the initiative and rushed through the bridge. Only then did Satoshi know that Katabi was Satoshi's choice. Luckily, he caught the right type at the right time, otherwise Katabi would have definitely gone with its gang of friends. After that, Bichon was successfully evaluated and it's a success. Satoshi threw. Depending on the situation, Kazumi still taught Satoshi a lesson as he lacks the convenient object reappears and shows an intention to capture Bichon of Satoshi. Dugasu and Abio Rasan successfully performed Mabuchakyu. Bichon Rasan was very impressive, despite not being able to use all the opponent's moves, but he was ultimate. Their battle is still going on, but we can expect that there will be a fine, conveniently dressed for a wedding celebration. We're here to see the bride and groom. Katabi's 3 Pokémon are like in-game skills from a martial arts movie, where the opposing party can't do anything but run away. The next day, Katabi released her thread to inform herself and transformed into Taransuru. The first time this happened, also in the Tokiwa forest, Satoshi encountered another Pokémon named Bidora through Katsumi's divine. Satoshi was about to capture it. Katsumi left and bumped into a samurai who asked if he came from the Master town. Katsumi wasn't him. But she remembers Satoshi did. Eventually, the samurai reached Satoshi. The sword only aimed at him and requested a proper Pokémon battle. A dialogue-style Pokémon battle, but a sudden Suga appeared, causing everyone to scatter and unable to fight until they are old and tired. Trong forces the Taransuru of Satoshi to go out and try to return it to the earth. The whole group arrived at Suga's clan and saw Kuin's talisman hanging there. Then they transformed it. The group continued to run towards the ancient houses of the. On the next morning, Satoshi went to find the Taransuru. While sneaking in and stealing it back, without letting Suga's age, reading the strange and mysterious sign that they thought was good for them makes Suga's eyes open wide. During the battle, Taransuru was in a critical situation when it's surrounded by enemies. But, however, Taransuru still remains skeptical. He believes that Satoshi abandoned him due to his own weakness, forcing the. In a sincere apology, Satoshi acknowledged the mistake while showing remorse for all his actions. As a result of this, Taransuru started accepting Satoshi's help. With this act of compassion, they evolved into Bata Fury. The new evolution gave them the power to clear obstacles in their path and reach Nibur City. Satoshi and Kasumi met a kind man named Muno who sells rock swords and guides them to the. Upon seeing Tamafic's information, Satoshi started his own challenge against the League and gained necessary approval. However, Kasumi said that they must first win 8 badges at 8 different cafes. He will be able to go back to the base camp. There's an old man meditating. With just one hand, Takashi turned his home into a slow-moving arena for Satoshi chose Pikachu while Takashi released a Waku that made Pikachu terrified and had to run to Satoshi's place. After finishing the motivational work, but the electric squirrel of his didn't make any attempt with Earth-type. Iwaku's strong will has been tested and injured by Pikachu, which made Satoshi unable to take Pikachu back. With the pain in Pikachu, Satoshi decided to abandon him. After meeting Muno, he showed him that Takashi could be even stronger at present. But taking care of his son after his father left unexpectedly, Takashi had to put his dreams on hold and become a successful Pokémon trainer. Muno said he knew how to make Pikachu stronger by giving it electric power through the steel energy body. The hydroelectric plant has been abandoned for so long because of the current flow. Satoshi has to run back to apologize with. You still refuse to lend Kazumi's Pokémon for the battle even with the huge water-type advantage it holds over the DB Club Pokémon. The next day, Satoshi battled Takashi and was defeated by a quick combo of the superior tech. Pikachu's electric attack has been successful in bringing down the master trainer, forcing Iwaku to. Once again, Pikachu utilized his electric attacks, causing Iwaku some damage but not much. Iwaku's. Taking this opportunity, Takashi ordered Iwaku to release Pikachu due to its extensive injuries. However, Satoshi refused. Suddenly, the water Pokémon in the club were melted by Pikachu's electric attack, causing water to splat all over Iwaku. Taking this opportunity, Satoshi intended to finish Iwaku off but his nephews blocked him. Satoshi realized that even if he continued fighting, his chances were slim. He chose to surrender for this. Satoshi left the club. However, a car suddenly caught up with him at the back and the man hung a ball for Satoshi as a gift for his kindness towards the Pokémon and shared his dream with him. At this moment, an unexpected strike was landed. The culprit who was revealed to be the. At this time, he decided to take on his responsibilities in the club, allowing Takashi to walk freely. The Toshi group has one more member added. For some reason, Kasumi forced the whole group to go to Kuchiba City first but failed. That's why they ended up in Haneda City with 3 Takashi also had something to check, so only Satoshi went to the water park club. Satoshi encountered 3 sisters performing a water show for the audience at the club. They knew that the 3 sisters are the owners of the Haneda Club but their Pokémon were too tired after the performance, so she handed it over to Satoshi when emptying the water while not fighting. Kasumi appeared and hugged Satoshi. They both turned out to be a member of the Haneda Club owners, so it turned out that Satoshi has been going with people who have eye-catching. A 2-sided fight took place at the swimming pool. Pikachu refused to fight because she saw Kasumi as a friend. Batafuri stepped up to replace Hitodaman. Batafuri's real combat style is to use powder to irritate the opponent in the Hidei Doma's battle, which uses water to wash off. Finally, Hitodaman won the fight. Pikachu continued to resist and had to face. Tsutami fought ruthlessly with an advantage of using a. Tsutami successfully created difficulties for Pikachu but was finally knocked back by Pikachu's dodge attack. As it stands now, he is very weak. Doha, copy all the remaining water of the guild's pot using a vacuum pump yesterday. In the end, Pikachu taught Doha T and Satoshi received a watermark for his efforts in building the bridge and Pikachu's work. Katsumi disagreed at first but he reasoned if Satoshi used Pikachu it would be easy to defeat Katsumi's water pot. The three continued to head toward the next guild hall in Kujiba. Before reaching Kujiba City, the group had to complain about a forest. Satoshi sees a Najinokusa drinking water near. Katsumi orders Sumtami to use water to subdue the Najinokusa and throw it into the river to capture it, but was hit by a Fuzuki Dane appears and fights against Sumtami, overwhelming Batafuri. Both run away and the group arrives at a temple within the forest. At this temple, injured or abandoned Pokemon come to rest and relax. There is a girl named Midori who cares for them. It is revealed that the Fuzuki Dane despises humans and may have chosen a trainer because of some reason in their path. The Pokédex arrives with the intention of catching all Pokemon in the temple but was lost by. Touched by what the Fuzuki Dane has done for the Pokemon and Midori's words, the Fuzuki Dane accepts a challenge from Shitoshi to test their ability. In the end, Shitoshi wins with Pikachu's electricity attack and successfully captures the Fuzuki. The group bids farewell to Midori and the temple in order to head towards. On the road, the group started to pair up a Hidokage as it was resting on a rock with its fangs weak. Shitoshi wanted to tame the Hidokage but he failed twice after using Pikachu's diplomacy technique. He only found out. The three of them ignored the Hidokage and went to a nearby Pokemon Center when it was about to rain. A member from Shitoshi's group heard rumors of a criminal named Daisuke while he was at the Pokemon. Daisuke, who is in charge of the finance company, had been holding the Hidokage. The company will decide its next move but it's unaware of any plan. This made the entire group frustrated and wanted to fight the person, but the rain was getting heavier and heavier. Hidokage's importance went beyond that. At this time it only had one big leaf large enough to protect its sharp blade from being damaged by Onishi Jim Tantan and also hit. Pikachu used Thunderbolt to test the air, and the group quickly warmed up Hidokage and brought it back. It's weak at this point and can't do anything. Even Attachway saved it from the critical danger. The whole group rejoiced immensely. The next morning, Hidokage left and returned to his stone. The one who abandoned it will never return now. The whole group continued their journey but Pikachu was also caught in the middle. Burned by Hidokage's early presence, he commanded the Spirit of Chaos to bring if it could defeat the one-eyed monster, they might have. Hidokage made a decisive victory with a great success. He roasted the Spirit of Chaos 9 times, forcing everyone to hold that power. The ambassador of the Great Alliance, K, returned to his senses and however, he refused. In fact, he had to pay the price in the cheers of Hidokage. Hidokage's journal records Satoshi joining a party, and therefore successfully capturing another female character on the land. The group then on another day, the group encountered a squad of 5-eared Xenogames, likely the one that the group fell upon was part of their Police reports indicate they were abandoned by their owners and now frequently wander around and play games without. Knowing that, the group of people started heading to challenge the customers even though they were dissuaded. Satoshi's team was sitting at the battlefield when suddenly a group of Xenogame attacked. Pikachu got launched out of the battlefield, all of them were tied up and taken into action, where there were even Even if Satoshi tries to explain, the fact remains that we will always believe in Nia's wisdom. However, since Pikachu is severely injured and needs immediate treatment, Team Rocket agreed to let Satoshi go so they could search. Success got the refund back on the day after but didn't see. The group went out and was blessed by the owner of a side job outside. They just wanted to shout and make a ruckus, there wasn't any malicious intent. In that situation, even Xenogame's black-haired character was cursed. Satoshi did not risk falling into danger and braced himself to protect the creature, but in the moment of life or death, Xenogame's character swiftly used his powers to run to a safe place. After Xenogame successfully defeated the Peacekeepers, however, its consequences left the town shrouded in darkness. With Xenogame's help, Satoshi quickly subdued the group and they were recognized. When Satoshi's team set out for their journey, Kazumi noticed that a shadowy figure of Xenogame was following them. Thus, the female Pokemon from the region was successfully incorporated into Satoshi's team. While they were complaining in the forest, Satoshi was praised for being a kind and understanding companion. Kazumi hugged Satoshi and confessed that all of his Pokemon and badges are. In truth, they followed Satoshi. It's not like Fate had it. Satoshi grabbed a Kiribu from the billboard, an adorable but terrifying small Kiribu. He successfully caught it and immediately put it in his pocket, as if he was being cursed. Satoshi was confused and asked Kazumi to explain that a trainer can only have a maximum of 6 Pokemon at a time. In the distance, the group realized a lighthouse stood tall and they sought shelter. At this place, they learned about the presence of Carol, a giant Pokemon who has been around. This is the mysterious Pokemon that Masaki, the owner of the lighthouse, The next morning, everything was as peaceful as it had always been and Satoshi continued. After 2 rounds of the competition, the group arrived in Kuchiba City with a strong determination. Satoshi wanted to go straight to the Kuchiba Pokemon Center and meet Magishis, and we are Pokemon trainers. We saw many other Pokemon being beaten by the host of the center, Magic. If there is a Pikachu, it will go straight to the battlefield to fight. However, Satoshi eventually went to the gathering with Pikachu. The next form of transformation for Pikachu, and according to theory, it will be stronger than Pikachu. Both sides traded blows but were on opposite ends. However, Reiju's attack power was much greater than Pikachu's. Coupled with Reiju's double-sided, Satoshi loses. He goes back to his heart with a single feeling, both Satoshi. Tell me I give Satoshi a lightning element crystal, something that can help Pikachu transform. Satoshi wants to help Pikachu evolve too, to defeat Magisu, but he's unsure if the ability of the world could do so. He ultimately leaves it up to Pikachu to decide. Pikachu rejects this and throws a punch. It says that it wants to battle Reiju as just a for all Pikachus in the world. Satoshi later finds out that Magisu already transformed his Pikachu into Reiju right after he captured him. The fact that Reiju could not keep up with Pikachu's accelerations. In the subsequent battle, Reiju was unable to keep pace with Pikachu's rapid speed. It kept missing and inflicted magical power from the Magisu enveloped Reiju's field with 100,000 volts of overwhelming energy. However, Pikachu was barely flickering and fading. Pikachu used its tail to prevent itself from being affected by Reiju's thunder. The Magisu commanded Reiju for another 100,000 volts but he couldn't gather enough energy. Pikachu seized this opportunity and launched a furious strike straight into Reiju's abdomen at the maximum speed, and then again as Reiju. Satoshi won the battle and received a coveted title from Magisu. Throughout Satoshi's and Pikachu's struggle, their images of their respective Pokemon were always. After receiving the title, Satoshi's team continued on their journey. At this point, they encountered a large ship at the helm and everyone wanted. They had 2 strange girls visit and offer them a ticket to participate in a fishing competition. Later it was discovered that the girls were related to their Pokemon allies, with the intent of boarding the ship. On the ship, Satoshi traded his Batafuri for the right clothes of a kind old man. Cairo also bought a catfish to see fortune from a street vendor's stall. Satoshi asked if he knew about the fate of Batafuri and recalled his past memories. No matter what, it was his first one that he captured. A bunch of people in the crew made an appearance and threatened to take away. Thanks to their combined efforts, everyone managed to clear out all the noodles from the slippery noodle set. Satoshi also decided to counter Batafuri before it got away. Because of this decision, the ship was hit by a storm, the waves crashing into the ship's bow, almost sinking it. Satoshi, chasing after Batafuri's ball, caused the group to lose their bearings and were knocked unconscious. The slippery noodle crew also suffered similar misfortunes and the ship was eventually sunk, following Satoshi and the crew of Slip. Both sides agreed on this situation as the ship had been trapped in a crevice under the sea. They worked together to get out of there. For everyone's sake, they had to work together and escape. Thanks to Fuzuki Dane's boots, the group managed to pass through the safety. Hitokage punched a hole in the ship and everyone jumped into the water system to get out. Except for Rain, who is of no use to anyone, no one else could buy a water system like Kochiro's. After escaping danger, the next day they were starving. Koiken was the first thing they thought about but their bodies only gave off useless. Kochiro is still looking at the ocean. Unexpectedly, it started glowing and transformed into Gyaradosu. The group ran away. Suddenly, Gyaradosu stopped, thinking its head was tired, but actually, it called for 4 more Gyaradosu to perform a creating a super strong dragon water spout and swept everyone to another. While they were avoiding the way to Yamabuki City, Satoshi's group stopped in front of a high rock which will lead them to Yamabuki. A woman named Tafuri is smelling for her partner at that place. Many couples are getting married in the area, and they come to join the groom's family. Satoko's Black Beauty also joined the group quickly, but it yielded no results. It was a pretty and melancholy red-haired. However, before Satoshi's brown-haired wife could be kissed by another girl, her boyfriend had already kissed her first. Satoshi's girlfriend's tears fell onto the noodles and she threw them into. The woman went from "I will not do this" to a full-on meltdown. Satoshi's wife desperately tried to make amends but failed. She ended up making a hasty decision. Satoshi wanted to have Baikon help out, but the master said that it would only make Mrs. Tafuri feel worse. The protagonist is taking a break in an abandoned warehouse. Mrs. Tafuri continuously attacks the main target, achieving freedom for other Tafuri and inspiring great admiration from them. Cairo attempts to capture the pink Tafuri but is pushed away by Satoshi. It makes him like Satoshi's aunt more. After that, Satoshi's assistant slapped Pikachu on his butt and flew towards the helicopter. Pikachu uses electric power to fly up towards the blue sky, aiming for Satoshi's beloved pink eyes and his heart. The Pikachu dance is a beautiful jig, hoping to capture Satochi's affection. Mother is feeling conflicted. Satochi has to say goodbye to her friends with tears in her eyes, a touch of sadness. It will have to leave its group of friends to begin a new life with its future husband, leaving behind one of the saddest wedding scenes in anime. When the whole group was in the forest, a girl with floppy hair was playing with a ball near them. Satochi chased after her and luckily Fuji Kidana's clear sky helped them, but it also allowed the group to see the city of Yamabuki's camouflage at a distance. Everyone in the group said that they were already sharing the spoils and heading. At the location, Kojiro Tom used his gloves to play Pikachu, while the rest of the adults had each. Once again, the girl appeared in the room and rescued everyone, bringing them to the Yamabuki Guild Hall. A man ran up and warned the group not to. Nevertheless, Satochi insisted on fighting Natime to obtain the little girl still imposed her conditions on Satochi. If he lost, the others would have to. Satochi accepted, despite Kazumi and Takashi still being. Natime released a Kaisi. Satochi used Pikachu. Pikachu shoots a lightning bolt but Kaisi uses instant teleport. Then, Natime used her power of heart and transformed Kaisi into Jungera. The power of Pikachu's spirit has significantly increased, which makes the electricity flow back to it and causes Pikachu. Next, Jungera uses his own energy to manipulate Pikachu's moves and make it continuously pummeling Pikachu and unleashing a barrage. Satochi must be dragged into the cage to help Pikachu. The entire group is brought into a dollhouse built by Natime to become her toy. You're lucky that the man reappeared and successfully took the group out. The man warned and asked Satochi, but he refused to give up his badge. Later, the man used his spiritual ability to influence Satochi, but he still suffered in pain. In the end, he gave in and showed him a way. That's how to use a blood spell at the White Tower of Shaun to stop Natime. The entire group successfully reached the White Tower and entered the depths. There is also a shadow monster who appears with their eyes watching Miyasu, who's horrified and closes his eyes when it hits Musashi and the three in an under-the-floor room. Satochi and the others went to the house. Everything was dark and creepy, with the light of matches flickering. The entire group arrived at a room fully furnished. There is a hanging wire that's covered by. Satochi dragged him. The paper money flew like a wave to shore, naturally luxurious in the air. Takashi and Bokeman were also dragged along. Takashi and Bokeman also fled for their life. Outside, Kasumi and Takashi both feared death and refused to return. Alone, Satochi still yearned to fight with the Demon Slayer League. The two went back into the tower, working in tandem. From a single point, there's no information about where it came from. Hidechige helped Satochi fight. Afterwards, Gosuto used a limp on Hidechige that caused him to become paralyzed. A's family lives in a house where there were some troubles. Satochi sees how much the others experienced and he doesn't. Satochi and Bokeman chased after the humans, but they could not replicate the demonic's way of doing it. A black shadow fell from the roof and entered the car. Both Gosuda and Kenga pulled their lips away from each other's bodies, causing Satochi and Pikachu to lose consciousness. Visiting the playroom, they went outside to tease Kasumi and Takashi. Satochi understood that this cursed machine didn't have a bad intention. Kasumi and Takashi then rejoined them in the month and saw Satochi and Pikachu lying asleep in a tangled embrace. They kissed. Satochi decided not to go on a journey anymore. Perhaps if they have to go with the others on a trip, the ones who stay behind will lose a friend. It seems sad. When they were on their way back to Yamabuki City, a Gosuda appeared and called the group together. It wished to help Satochi and Satochi returned to challenge the Yamabuki Tavern once more with a trio of starting Kantos and Pikachu. But at this moment, Gosuda disappeared, leaving Satochi trapped and unable to. Kazumi and Takase were transformed into real-life toys in Natime's playhouse. Fortunately, Satochi received assistance from a man. Natime's father told Satochi a story about the girl. When she was young, she was as lovely as other children, but within her lay an enormous, supernatural power. The cost of her power is that she turned her back on her family and was split in half by the river. A woman older than a girl and younger than a boy, the wild Pokémon were caught by Pikachu but was defeated by Satochi, who later gave it back to his team for one last battle against Natime. However, finally, it was decided to follow the rules of Satochi, but Satochi had a different set of rules. Punishment for this time was severe and Satochi lost. Satochi's presence also added to the tense atmosphere, and Satochi even managed to appear before Natime with a mission. It then transformed into a bomb, exploding as Natime smiled. Finally, it unleashed a can of laughter. Thanks to their close connection, Jungera started laughing along and couldn't fight anymore. Father of Natime declares Satochi the winner, helping Satochi achieve his golden era. The whole team waved goodbye to the city and Natime continued her trip to Tamamushi. If the coach is still there, the game will continue with Natime. To reach the city of Tamamushi, the group will have to walk down street number 7 while eating. During this time, Pikachu spots a mischievous. It jumped to the place near the water tower and took hold of rice, then it sat freely. Satoshi threw the Pokeball to catch a Mankey, but it threw the Pokeball back as it caught the rice when the Pokeball. At that moment, Mankey was extremely enraged and ran after the group while the Pokemon notification said that if Mankey was hot-tempered, Katsumi fell backward. Mankey rushed toward her. I thought Katsumi would die, but this monkey just jumped onto Rorlau's head as Mankey took Satoshi's hat and jumped onto the tree. The Hoti arrived to catch Pikachu. Mankey jumped into it, then was caught by Kojiro. At the edge of a forest, warning that domain of noble advancement is about to undergo transformation and its time has come to. Satoshi fell into the field trap set by domain of noble advancement. Okurazaru had arrived at his destination as well. Recollection of what Professor Okuda. Satoshi's anger at Xenogame was so intense that it fueled a fire in them. It was hopeless. The efforts to practice the skill of wielding magic didn't make any difference, even if, however, thanks to Hidokich's burning rage, the fire on his tail burned. The mail that it must receive to strengthen its message is powerful. Hidokich fueled a huge fire into Okurazaru and burned it. Pikachu was quick and jumped in to rescue Satoshi's hat before he too fell victim to the attack. Satoshi threw a ball and successfully pushed Okurazaru. As they passed the rock formation, the entire group arrived at the. Upon arriving at Tamanbursi City, an alluring aroma spread around them, attracting everyone. Cue Satoshi. Takashi watched a girl at the flower shop while Kazumi and Pikachu were drifting between different types of perfume. Satoshi said these things weren't wasteful, but instead helped to transform bad luck into zombies like Takashi. It made everyone feel uncomfortable. Satoshi left and rushed to Tamanbursi Hall, but he was turned red and kicked out of the hall for writing a testimony, stating that this hall. Sukengo. The flower girl is getting ready for the party and plans to sneak in through the door of the gathering, aiming to earn some money with perfumes. The Kuzahani starts releasing a very foul smell that makes Kojiro and Musashi want to puke, but eventually, they're forced out of the party by the people inside, and then all three. The meeting point for heroes came. Satoshi greeted the flower girl to enter the gathering. Satoshi disguises herself as a woman named Satocho, while the flower girl successfully creates an image of Satoshi that allows them to get into the. Satoshi finds Erika's group along with Kazumi, Takashi, and Pikachu. Pikachu delivers a dazzling pose. Satoshi challenges Erika for a real fist bump. She agreed. Fujikadene's talk was nonsensical and meaningless, but Monsera forced him to stay close by using a rope so he could splatter his. Satoshi had to retreat and surrender Okurazaru, but this one is too stubborn, it can't be controlled, so they prayed for Hidoki. Beat Ikadon's spoiled child, unleashing a burst of fire, creating a backlash. After that, it used a move like the flower petal to easily subdue it. Kuzahani emerged from the battle and forced Hidokage to resort to a desperate attempt of Pikachu completed its battle formation. However, the flower petal moved. After escaping by surprise, the trainer's magical energy caused some damage. The trainers quickly recovered their lost strength and ran away from there, but Erika realized that Satoshi didn't fall into danger and went straight to find it, desperately searching for him amidst the 4B flames. However, he seemed aware of Kuzahani's fear, so Kuzahani did not show any. Satoshi runs out of there with Kuzahani's hands raised, making Erika moved by Satoshi's usage of his emotions. Erika gives him a championship ring as a sign of victory. On their way to the next battle stage, Satoshi and a Pokemon Noodle competition is about to start. The little girl has been training for this competition. He abandoned the traditional lifestyle with no more consideration to his. The girl asked Satoshi and Takashi to defeat him in order to stop him from going down that path. Satoshi and Takashi's usage of their fighting style, agreeing to join with Okurazaru and Yusutubite. The first being to keep. Satoshi's monkey didn't listen to any requests, just went in to attack the opponent so that Waraiki could catch it. Without thinking, Satoshi went in to help Okurazaru, which was very touching. By nature, Okurazaru never listens to anyone. This time he's decided to listen to Satoshi from this point on. He returned to the battlefield and prepared for a duel. Tran the next one to hold Yusutubite of Takashi and Sawamura that we just robbed. While being careless, Takashi left Yusutubite beaten without a single scratch. The rest are Satoshi alone. Too many battles and only 3 Pokemon remain at the end, Sawamura, Ebiwara, and Okurazaru. Sawamura faced off against Ebiwara. Both were equal. The Niasu is screaming and hitting the rock island, which caused Ebiwara to immediately receive a barrage of. A decisive blow was struck. Manami rushed into the defense, shielding her Pokemon for her father, causing Enoki to also rush into. Enoki threw the ball hard to the floor and accepted his fate because he realized that he is a negligent husband, which worried his wife and children, and then took the girl into. Okurazaru has to face Sawamura of the Divine Monk in order to secure the championship. Niasu will set up a detonation device for Okurazaru, while Sawamura will fly off to avoid a showdown and preserve his. But when Sawamura flew according to plan, nothing special would happen. It fell and was piloted by Okurazaru, using high-altitude whirlwind tactic. They went. Pikachu discovered the plan and headed back to its owner, going on a second journey in search of something else. Enoki recognized Okurazaru's strong potential and started special training for it, making it even more After we agreed, Okurazaru blinked, lost in his own thoughts. When the entire team arrived at Gunchu, a heavily polluted industrial town, Pikachu became ill from being exploited and, due to the town's extreme pollution, a group of betas stormed the area, led by a beta veteran. It tripped the water flow of the power plant as it couldn't supply. The entire team decided to leave the power plant to deal with the problem, and they were attacked by the betas after Kasumi made a Pikachu used 10 kV electric shock which could be effective against a few. From the start, many Koryu and Ryakoryu came pouring in. The electric discharge from them had a significant effect, causing a considerable number. Take the opportunity, Satoshi managed to round up the pioneer group to eliminate almost all the rebels. Satoshi had to send back to his old teacher in the countryside to ask for help. He asked. The whole group were wandering through a forest on the way to the Sekachika meeting house, then they stopped at an Kazumi went into the wall while they were asking how to get there, but it turned out to be a secret door. Casey knocked on the wall and realized the problem. Both of them started looking for. A kitten appeared and jumped away. The entire group followed it. Satoshi was the one who took on. Now, by Biraradama's ghost step, he entered a wall that could flip over and throw out fishing nets onto the ground. A girl named Age dressed like a ninja and challenged Satoshi. On the day Fujikadan's game was over, a Biraradama suddenly exploded and blew away a crucial part of the location. It turned out this was the Sekachika meeting hall and Fujikadan was the. Kiyu challenged Satoshi, who accepted. He sent Bijan to attack. Kiyu sent his opponent's ban and instantly transformed into Morphon. Bijan's attempt to blow away was thwarted by the internal wind, but it was. Morphon continues with a sleep-inducing attack that compels Satoshi to bring Bijan back. Morphon continues to deliver devastating strikes but is held back by Hidokich's flames. It was quickly overwhelmed and incapacitated in a desperate attempt. However, the battle resumed with Kiyu and Satoshi. The fight continued with. After overcoming Gorobato's sonic attacks, Hidokich successfully sealed an agreement with it. The journey of Satoshi brings the group to a vast Orvane. His friend Kaiser. Previously, he found a minirail in this Orvane. Its extent and widespread discovery led many adventurers to come seeking their own minirail for bargaining, causing the ecosystem. Kaiser then bans all adventurers from attacking any monk in the Orvane, allowing only the use of a special high-frequency loudspeaker unit. Satoshi's group arrived and Kaiser welcomed them with a straight greeting. This also caused international conflicts. Satoshi was successful in capturing Kentorosu. Preparation for the capture of Saihan was successful. Kentorosu was captured. They didn't stop to listen about the situation regarding the miniature drill, but even if they shot at his head, he still would. However, Mr. Kaiser was knocked down by the power of Mr. Ho Tien's drilling machine and revealed that he had discovered the mini drill in a wide valley. Soon after hearing from Mr. Kaiser about Mr. Ho Tien's plan to capture the Ho Jin is using his electric attack to stun the Pokemon underwater, causing them to become unconscious and float up. However, Satoshi did not hesitate to dive deep. Satoshi and Hakrill's humble bath and the unpretentious demeanor captivated Hakrill, who quickly noticed him and gave him a lesson. Turns out it was the minirail he encountered in his youth, now transformed into Hakrill, and the minirail beside him is its offspring. Now they live a happy life under the lake. The old man. A group of people came to deliver a town that's holding a costume party. Satoshi and Takechi instantly added to their attire by wearing clean clothes. Kazumi witnessed an Englishman being scolded for a bad payment with Tamatama because he failed to pay up at his deadline. Kazumi agreed to be the assistant. The performance started revealing why the Englishman was broke, and everyone else knew about it. Satoshi's performance was even more spectacular than before, with his Tamatama, after being influenced by Thomian, transformed Satoshi into a Fusukadane. This is where the Nazi troops were born. Machio used both Satoshi and his Pokemon to form a love union and forced. The company planned to use this light-based Nazi symbol to hypnotize the entire. But money appeared and caught Tamatama's attention. The Englishman immediately transformed into a Nazi. All of the Nazi soldiers started following Machio's lead by going crazy and charging towards the audience. Eventually, the owner of the performance had to attach a bomb. The Satoshi group didn't give up. Instead, they tried their best to fight back against Nazi, but all got together in the end. And until Maki overcomes her fear and succeeds in the fiery moment of him combining with Hidokage's fire, it is possible to threaten the run. After defeating many Pokemon, Hidokage also is blessed as Rosato. I guess time management will begin. He no longer listens. Tomorrow, the whole group arrived at a small village named Add medicine and herbs here. There is a girl named Kiyomi who works as a doctor. She wants to create a miracle medicine, but Barriser of her has to transform into Barriser Kaitoto in order to make it Satoshi with Barriser of Kiyomi, but it's strange. Satoshi must tell his Pokemon to be weak and clean. like from 10 points down to 2 to 3 volts. Nevertheless, Barrister still went and rolled. Meeting Risotto, the boss at the very last level, he's just finished his transformation so he isn't afraid of anyone. This made Risotto's hostility towards Satoshi even more evident, and it stopped listening to him. Finally, in a moment of panic, Barrister stabbed its claws straight into it claimed victory and evolved into Barrister Kaitoto. Satoshi and his team then arrived at the Gramba Forest. People were instructed to pour the numbers here to unearth their true history, while everyone hoped for rapid completion. Of course, the heavenly beings weren't interested in any case. Satoshi stayed behind to hold back while Takashi and Kazumi went to warn the people. The water of Zenyankane was unable to extinguish the flames because it had. Everyone held their breath as they approached the bomb, scared too much to move. The group fell down a sack after the ground shook, picked up by friendly and hospitable men who were shining in the dark. Turns out, they were unfinished powders that had been sleeping for thousands of years. The breakfast is finally reaching the mouth. The group doesn't mind being chased away from it. Satoshi called Rizadora, but now it was just bored to see him as a master. It lay still, but suddenly, a monster appeared. Bittera emerged, and he seems like he's the only one left here. Rizador, while running away from the trouble, didn't decide to run after the monstrous Bittera because it was taken away by the explosion. Satoshi thought it was evolutionary, but no, it just wants to fight with Bittera for a bigger stage, and finally burst out into an awe-inspiring roar. Sleeping Bitters, scratching at Satoshi, Rizador's hand is forced back onto the bed to catch Satoshi but is also put back to sleep. Satoshi fell down, falling onto a Pokémon egg that he had just. Satoshi and his group reached the Pokémon Center where Professor Okido gave him a letter. It notified them that from the location of the Pokémon, Satoshi was now able to be. Satoshi immediately set out to find all the remaining points of strength from Dio and his team. He was searching for the egg he found the day before which hatched a Pokémon named. After enduring countless hardships in order to rescue the egg along with the care and handling skills of the lower-ranked practitioners, finally, the egg hatches. Satoshi won the battle but Tajibai chose to follow Kazumi. It's nonsensical. Knowing beforehand, while complaining in the woods, someone was battling Satoshi. He used Sai-Hong. Satoshi chose Fujijidane, though they had an advantage in system, but Sai-Dun's quick moves gave them the edge and Fujijidane couldn't fight back. Getting hit, its head swelled up a bit. Satoshi took Fujijidane back, but it jumped around refusing to enter. The man said Satoshi could not get Pokémon back to prove it on his own equipment and that they wouldn't. Fujijidane then succeeded in paying for the fee and ended by a straight attack, and was captured in their hand. Fujijidane collapsed on the ground. His smile seemed to dim as he was weakened. The narrative in the center states that Fujijidane had been prepared for the transformation, and the evolution of his thought process will soon. Everyone was asleep when Fujijidane and Pikachu left outside. They went into the forest following Fujijidane's lead as he came out from the start and observed the blooming. Fujijidane's body was also wet. Pikachu ran back to wake up the person with authority for help. It startled the entire room using a. Everyone ran into the forest but from the beginning, Fujijidane appeared and formed a short curtain that blocked their path. On the cold breeze, the group saw joy gathering, where thousands of Fujijidane were gathered, including Satoshi's son. On the moonlit night, something caused the trees to blossom. The Pokémon had a natural ability to bloom due to this. A Fujijidane appeared and was the designated one in the Pokémon battle. Among them, some transformed into Fujijiso. However, Satoshi's Fujijidane refused to transform like Pikachu. It didn't want to. This surprised everyone else. Fujijidane used a magic wand to hit Satoshi's Fujijidane, but he jumped in to protect him and said it was his decision. Then, the money plant appeared, and absorbed all the Fujijiso. The Fujijidane's outer layer couldn't reach the rising flower territory, yet a strange power began to sprout. That energy gathered atop the face of Fujijidane. It had learned the technique to shine in the sunlight and was ready. A tremendous burst of energy slammed straight at the base of the flower territory, causing an explosion that sent away the magic of the flower territory. Then they were defeated by the power of unity among the Fujijidane family members. Satoshi's next visit was to the Grain Shrine on the island of Grain, but upon arriving, he found that the shrine had long been closed down. Because there are natural hot springs on the island, tourists have flocked. Over time, this place became a tourist paradise. People who come here, it seems like the only thing left of Hiraizen is its reputation. Satori and however, he actually gave Satoshi a secret in on the island. Only those whom he felt. Satoshi is one of them. When he first arrived at the island, because all rooms were booked, so the whole group had. A local friend came by to help and gave the group 8 essentials for home in Betrito. The boys are still stuck and they don't get it. All Kazumi can do is fake the poem and write a note on that to find the exact house through the clock steel. Before they could stabilize, where many Pokémon were being attacked by a trap. The whole group heard that there was a smell of the food they were taking Katura to. Arrive at the place where Katu's power blasts through the bison and launches a devastating electric attack. In order to reward Satoshi, the local man only revealed the secret meeting place of Katura, but still kept a riddle under wraps. Their trouble. Kazumi's power unintentionally activates a secret technique called Karadoze on her head. Inside a different room, the heat is rising. The other side is the arena of the Gurren Club, which is being mistaken for a water channel. The merchant there is also the owner of the Katura Club. This is a three-way battle. Satoshi opens up against Xenagame, while Katura chooses Kyukon. Although he has the advantage in system, Xenagame's water gun can't do. With a single team, Kyukon successfully transforms Xenagame into. Satoshi acquired Xenagame and gave it to Rizadon. Katura also. However, before Satan's horn strike hit, Rizadon flew up to the nearby arena to rest after being knocked out by the four-man. The final punch for Satoshi was Pikachu. Katura also unleashed his own evil master, a ferocious beast who gulped down air and flew onto the bat. Using Pikachu as bait, one side is the super powerful main attacker, while the other. In the final moments, Pikachu finally got hold of the main attacker and dodged it on the map. But the previous. Satoshi ran onto the battlefield and asked to withdraw from the match. Katura advised Satoshi that he was a talented player. However, Satoshi did not leave the tournament, as he would not give up on winning until he had acquired female fire. The next day, they marched forward with their intention to catch the opponent. In a series of attacks, this led to an unexpected shift in power and caused unpredictable movements that triggered sudden reactions from the opponent. Katsura and Satoshi's group arrived at the destination as the consequences of their actions were already unfolding. Katsura and the entire group managed to hold back the flow of dark energy. After completing his task, Rizadon agreed to fight the three, and the arena will now be the first. Both of them hung a couple of burning ropes around each other's necks. Then, the three took a direct hit when it fell off the rock pillar, but Rizadon woke up just in time. It soared into the sky and landed beside the three-headed creature, grabbing its hands. The three couldn't catch up. It used the immense force of Rizadon to pull the flames toward them, then locked them in place again. After that, Rizadon used an electric vehicle to stir and dizzy his. Then, he easily navigated the world's rotation. Satoshi was trapped with the 7th title and prepared to return to Tikigwa City. Back in Tikigwa City, Satoshi intended to enter the guild hall and fight but was stopped by Shigeru, his sworn enemy. Fletron has collected 10 titles. He thinks that if he gets into this hall, while there were only 8 guilds scattered across the world, Shigeru entered the guild hall before Satoshi was stopped because only one person can enter a guild at a time. Shigeru's match was full of intense struggle. It felt like the Pokémon tournament this time around lacked any real power. However, the boss unleashed a powerful move, a championship-style Pokémon symbol of victory that he bragged. Mutual in the manga is, just with a single punch from his hand, Wendy was knocked down. When playing together like that, both of them become one person, and the other becomes a person who covers for the first person. Later, the final head of the club is also the name of the boss of the Progressive family. The Progressives have placed their devices on 2 platforms for the match, and the critiques Pokémon karaoke continuously immersing itself in Xenagame causes Satoru Sigi to feel excruciating pain. It has to be this way to call that a twisted. Satoru Sigi pulls Xenagame back and hands it over to Fujijidane. Kinkura also sends off fireworks as Fujijidane approaches, thanks to the outside Shigeru and his friends urging him to give up on Pokémon at the gathering as Pokémon is too strong. But Satoru Sigi still believes that the power of destiny flows through the blood. Satoru's side calls Bijin, a quick attack leading to Sidon's field where his opponent's defenses are weakened and they got. Bijin's spirit also successfully hits Sidon, making Musashi act like a fool on the mat as he was knocked down. Then the opposing team called out for Ibuku, being caught in a power struggle over electricity consumption that led to the 3 Pokémon leaving their. Satoru Sigi approaches the championship ring because of his victory in January, which was so common. Tajabai is playing around with a game controller like B-class weapon for both sides to go. Tajabai is a sneaky little rascal who's playing off the battlefield. He'll fly into the air and start a fight, while he has Sigi's spirit mark in hand. In 3 weeks, it's time for the Pokémon tournament. Satoru Sigi and Takashi are studying the upcoming tournament as they watch because Satoru Sigi refused to participate in the match but watched TV. Satoru Sigi and Takashi argue that Seba is a good strategist, so they asked him. Satoru Sigi decided to go study under Seba, but didn't know where to find him. Hana reminded him that he had seen Seba appear. The whole group arrived at the location. The ramen master was still meditating in his own power, and he was exhausted to the point where he. Balao did not know what Seba was but told the group that there is an abundance of treasures here, so the Yoas are flourishing more than usual and there's one giant among them. While traveling, Satoru Gojo noticed a long crack that looked like a path, leading to a giant Yoa creature on the mountain, and it was descending. The group panicked and wanted to run, but luckily someone nearby pointed them to an escape route. They arrived at Seba, he was in a small shack on the mountain and agreed to teach Satoru Gojo basic skills. Kazumi's eating the whole thing raw first, then it's the final bite. Kazumi eats the whole piece of meat on his face, then he moves the ice. Seba later throws some fire to cook, and then sits down to eat deliciously cold food. Although she's sitting down to eat, but no, a flying ball straight into his head makes Seba want to faint. The image of the cruel guy. Seba finally reveals that he didn't go up the mountain to just train, but to catch the giant Iwaku. Suddenly a flower appears with a huge hammer on its hand, the shape is straight and Iwaku is like stabbing him. Satoru Sigi's group arrived, but even though the three Mokemen worked together, they weren't. During the time of great wealth and exuberance, Seba emerged just in time to save Seba decided to persuade Iwaku but used negotiation instead of using. Seba tried but failed to extract Iwaku's words. He managed to get a Sandovan in his body when Iwaku was suffering and complaining all over the place. Iwaku also agreed to go with Seba from there. Satoru Sigi and the whole group continue. The Pokémon League convention is set to begin soon, and today is the day before to kindle the flame, you must leave from a dead-end Mokemon in the present. It's destined for an eternal fire and it represents the ambition and resilience of every trainer. Satoru Sigi will be supported to carry the torch. Satoru Sigi is going to have his own badge to present as proof. It's difficult and, if you keep procrastinating, an old man will appear. He's the chairman of the A word from him has immense weight. The man felt a liking for Satoru Sigi because of his testicle, so he agreed but the people who came along didn't expect to get anything from it. If you can get. Niasu jumped down to Satoru Sigi's position and hit him in pain. Niasu took it but the flame quickly turned it into a cat that. Koichiro calls Yutaboto to plead with him for Niasu's help, but he quickly resolves the issue. Satoru Sigi steps in and extinguishes the fire by summoning Xenagame to put out the flames. Musashi manages to capture the dragon's horn and the antagonist quickly escapes. Satoru Sigi feels despair in his. He always carries a small flame within a black container to prevent the flames from being extinguished or stolen, allowing him to continue burning with the same intensity as before. Successfully registering for the League of Legends tournament, Satoru Sigi learns that before being accepted into the Indigo tournament, he will have to play 4 matches in different locations. Satoru Sigi's first match is set for the water arena on the very. Siguru appeared and his celebratory yell was followed by Satoru's dejected return to the field. Witnessing Siguru's first victory on the field, Satoru decided to use Xenagame, but Kazumi advised that it wasn't enough. He received Kurabu. When challenged by a trap in the Battle of Wits, Kurabu is the first Pokémon. Kurabu jumps into the lake to disrupt Natsu's eerie aura, but it quickly uses its superpower to reveal the location of Kurabu. Satoru Sigi cannot capture it. After escaping the water, Kurabu quickly clamps onto the leaves on Natsu's head and then blinks her eyes to immobilize Natsu and, after evolving, Kurabu became King. The second Pokémon of the trainer's battle plan is Sidora. To avoid being submerged, however, a quick attack from the crab sent Sidora flying with its bubble and then attacked King. The final Pokémon of the battle plan is Kurabu. Despite having an advantage over Kingwira in the air and inflicting damage on Kingwira's trainer, Kurabu was disqualified before. Satoru Sigi's first official victory in this fight came with only one Pokémon. Satoru Sigi's second close combat was held on the field, and 2 Pokémon from both sides had already lost some of their power. Xenagame easily knocked down Nidorino to a disadvantageous angle, then used water-attacking moves to push it into the rock, and Siguru seems to be increasingly unimpressed with Satoru Sigi's abilities. He views these. After the match, Satoru Sigi was famished and went out to search for food but Pikachu couldn't find it. During the time when he moved away from the gathering, there were all going shopping for huge Pokémon figurines, stores with all kinds of goods are there, and even a movie theater. Kazumi and Takashi chased after Satoru Sigi and asked but the center was packed like it was running a mob scene, in the middle of the night. Satoru Sigi got, since it's a temporary Pokémon center only operating during tournaments, it makes sense to be modded. They realized something suspicious was afoot, and that Pikachu had been taken away. Its previous job memories were clear, its ominous aura was strong, they exposed their vulnerability. However, Takashi's movements were such as to allow him to choose the hot air balloon belonging to them, and then move. At this moment, the game is between Sigi from Nibi City and Satoru Sigi on the. Sigi uses Parisian while Satoru Sigi uses Kingwara. Sigi sends his Bokman to cover its opponent's attack against Kingwara's powerful barrage. Satoru Sigi tries to withdraw, however, both of Satoru Sigi's generals asked him to continue. In the end, Sigi retrieved the Parisian and called Wendy. Kingwara used water to attack Wendy, but it was dodged and responded by a powerful, angry outburst, causing. Satoru Sigi brought it back and sent Pikachu. Wendy's strategy is quite strange. Bokman fire on the arena floor, but instead of switching in one of its strongest moves, it caused a water puddle by repeatedly throwing water to transform. Pikachu falling down didn't cause any problems, but water and Pikachu used a massive electric storm that lit up the entire field, causing Wendy to Satoru Sigi won the close-range battle and advanced to the final round before. In the fourth round, Siguru was defeated by Yosuke on the injured field, which made Satoru Sigi think about his future after. The next match took place on a grass arena and faced Kyoruko. Satoru Sigi chose to use Fujigide's open defense against Subiya. Subiya launches a broad attack against the territory. Fujigide NE. Fujigide NE Fideo. Fujigide NE. In the end, it's Fujigide's turn. It successfully attaches to a symbiotic host and Subiya will suck out. Kyoruko brings Subiya back and lets Satoru Sigi onto the Add another Pokemon that has a significant advantage over. Fujigide NE is very favorable to most of Satoru Sigi's failures and despite the fact that this beetle used a shell trick, Toshi was quick-witted to use Roimai's technique to finish all of Satoru Sigi's attacks on the field and ultimately Kyoruko's last move seems like a huge tiger. But in reality, it is a gigantic mouth. Matatubo's tongue used leaves to create an electric blast, then launched a Pikachu with the same color. At this moment, Satoru Sigi realized that this wasn't just any giant mouth, but it's okay. Satoru Sigi had already transferred Beto Bettern from Professor Okito's position and put him on the field. It was easy for him to absorb his own special attack body and knock out Matatubo's minions, then use his strong style of offensive to overpower. Satoru Sigi won his fourth consecutive victory and entered the Professor Okito told Satoru Sigi that from round 5 onwards, meaning the coach would use all 6 of his Pokemon for a continuous battle until one side loses all their Pokemon. Professor Okito asked Satoru Sigi if he'd chosen to use one Pokemon, but he said he needs to see who his opponent is first. To everyone's surprise, after having a meal prepared by his mother, Satoru Sigi, and everyone stepped into the elevator. Professor Okito kept his composure and gave Hiroshi a hug. Hiroshi saw Pikachu and reacted. Everyone warned Satoru Sigi that Pikachu might accidentally shock strangers, but strangely, it seems like Pikachu was The elevator was slow, with no stop. Hiroshi asked Pikachu from Satoru Sigi to power the elevator. It had electricity again. A graphic design of a Pokemonster being stolen by half a Pokemon of the competition, driving one car on the road and announcing that all of the kisses must participate. Everyone was afraid after hearing it. His wife's Happa Pokemon appeared. The boss was Pikachu, who said a quick buy-off from the Satoru Sigi's house, and Hiroshi asked about them. The group now gets called Old Artists. If people want to know, everything ends up going well. They have to drive away in the car. Satoru Sigi and Hiroshi immediately pursued, shouting down Although small, Kojiro took the car to a high hill, hit the stream, and the car just drifted along with. I was there. The whole group went camping. The next morning, we found the graphics car of the Advance and the others were. 2 lightning bolts went inside. Success finding Pikachu. But at this moment, the graphics car was also calculated. Hiroshi gave Hidokage a weapon to create a passage with Sadaki's escape. Before Pikachu's appearance, the graphics car changed its direction. Hiroshi also called out a Pikachu named Leon. Leon was confused by his speed and caused a Poku to be disturbed. The 2 electric arcs from the 2 Pika's helmets fused together and Noho moved toward. The van at the back continued driving down, carrying Satoshi. Both jumped out of the van, then escaped by the help of Batafuri and Bichon's wind. A fight for a match. Satochi's next. Satoshi and Hiroshi were both worried at having to face a fellow friend in battle, but before starting the match, Satoshi will have to go through another 81 lives of pain. A trick that used a lot of words to draw Satoshi out. Then Hiroshi's figure was. On the day it came to the danger of the battle, Hiroshi fought hard for his freedom. Satoshi tried his best to escape from the fight. The use of Zenigame to flood the car when it hits a road shoulder, but the convenience store staff didn't stop. They went underwater and returned. Fujigide used Roimaiwook to take them to the flowers, but not enough yet. Convenience store continued to turn around on beautiful cars. On the fighting field, the referee was going to make it, but Hiroshi asked for more time, and he believes Satoshi will appear. They still haven't let go of it. They turned back on the suspension bridge with hooks to remind Satoshi and the beautiful car are not identical. Bichon exerted strength to pull the bridge to the sports court where a fight was taking place. Hiroshi's Batafuri easily defeated Zenigame by sleeping. Satoshi took Zenigame and sent Pikachu. With a combination of strong attacks and strategic tactics, Pikachu successful. As for physical strength, after fighting Smoke in the convenience store just now, although he avoided many fire techniques from Hidokage, but with a direct attack group, it succeeded in removing. Next, Satoshi made Rizodon refuse to listen in the snowfall of everyone's disbelief. It only fought when the brat Hidokage from the battlefield started a Rizodon's flames devoured the flames of its opponent, forcing Hiroshi to retrieve it. Hiroshi's final strategy. Due to 2 consecutive disadvantageous attacks from the opponent, Malion was overwhelmed and unable to retaliate. Rizodon continued its attack, immediately gaining the initiative and winning the fight, thus stopping Satoshi. After that, Satoshi also congratulated Hiroshi on his victory and prepared for a complete new battle.